Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to this week's recap video. It has been an absolute whirlwind of a week. Between, getting things ready for the Dreamstream expansion, which the crew is starting to show up today.
Yeah.
We're going to all have dinner in the garden together tonight. And I don't know if anybody's going to start in on the work today, but for sure tomorrow. And I know our kids have been counting down. Like, they are so excited, especially
Benjamin was like, when's the first person coming? And I was
Yeah.
like, well, somebody's coming in like 10 minutes to drop off the excavator. Then who's next?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I think Chris is going to come in around 11. Who's next?
Yeah.
Like, he wants to know.
Yeah. And he's also excited because my mom is coming and she's going to be here with the kids just so that,
Yeah.
there's lots of eyes because there's lots of machinery. And so they're excited about that. It's just been a very fun and festive feeling time. Plus, all of the big trees that are showing up, it's just like...
Yeah, it's been busy. The amount of people coming and delivering things this week. Did you hear that?
No.
I don't know if that was morning or what.
No.
But anyway, yeah, it's just been like delivery after delivery after delivery.
Yeah, it's just been wild and super fun. So we're excited to bring you along for that whole process. For now, let's just jump into the videos from this past week. The first one was planting an apple arbor and tagging roses that I want to keep from the rose garden. So I was walking around at the garden center on one of our many trips down there, and I just was kind of poking around in the fruit trees thinking, oh, it'd be fun to do some kind of a shaped something somewhere. And then I saw that they had one of their more wide arbors left. And I thought, this is perfect. We're going to put in an apple arbor. It was a little bit of a spur of the moment thing, but something that I've always wanted to do. So I got a Brayburn and a Macintosh apple to train onto the arbor. So we got that all installed and pruned up the tree. And then I just ran through the rose garden and tagged all the roses that I want to dig up and move. And then Bethany has gone through and she tagged all the things that she wants to save. And then I've got another friend that's coming who's going to, actually a couple more people who are going to come. And I think between all of us, we've got them all handled.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we won't start digging those, of course, until probably next week. We're supposed to get the Boxwoods for the cut flower garden. It's supposed to be this week, but I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't arrive until next week.
Sure.
Because that would be a lot.
They're coming to Andrews or are they coming here?
No, they should be coming here.
Oh, one more delivery.
It's a big one, too. It's a lot of Boxwoods.
How many are there?
500.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
They're smaller, though, right?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
What size?
Ones.
1 gallon? Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be fun. I'm
500,
so excited.
it's funny now, 500, auger holes doesn't sound, at 1 gallon size,
Right.
doesn't sound crazy to me.
No.
Because what is that? We'll probably use the 5 or 7 inch.
Probably the 5.
Yeah.
Because when I plant annuals, I use the 3-inch auger and I'll dig 1,000 holes in a day.
Yeah.
It's no big deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired at the end of the day, but it still can be done.
It's no big deal in comparison to
hand shoving.
yeah, doing it by hand or
Yeah.
something.
That'd be a lot. That'd be a lot.
Nasty.
Yeah. Funny. Okay. See, Still Wagon said, on a scale of upkeep difficulty throughout the years, how hard is it to keep fruit trees pruned onto a trellis? It's not hard. It's just a consistency sort of thing. I mean,
which luckily we have great track record
hey,
with.
you want to know something? I'm sensing some sass, and we're early on in this video right now. Yeah, the consistency thing can be a little rough, but that one's pretty focal.
Yeah.
We still have the Paris Ballier because I know that it probably is asked in this video, I'm guessing. Maybe, maybe not. I still am trying to figure out where it's going to go. And I don't know. It might end up at Bethany's house. Because Bethany, she just told me yesterday, she's like, her style of gardening is kind of more haphazard and just kind of, that's the word she used for it, was haphazard and just kind of willy-nilly. And I think there's a magic in that. Mm-hmm. I always love visiting people's gardens that have a little bit more of a free nature. I don't know, I don't know. I think that's why I like to have formality, but then an abundant border. So you kind of get both. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So she finds spots for everything, and just will pop it somewhere. And stuff that she takes usually thrives. So anyway, I don't know about the Paris Ballier. It's still alive, and it's still sitting in its box right where we set it earlier this year. Okay, Garden Escapade said, where is that heavy-duty arbor from? I've been looking for one just like it. I think we've answered similar questions like this before about that rusted iron sort of stuff. And I don't know. It's a
traveling man.
It's a traveling man, like a traveling guy who builds these things. And he comes in with his big trailer full of metal stuff, and he unloads it, in the backyard of the garden center, and then we shop it, for product, so that they can carry trellises, arbors, obelisks, all kinds of different things.
I saw a couple comments related to like the rusted nature of it, and people were like, "Oh, you should paint it black first." Like I probably am in that category too, where I don't see the allure of the rust. I get that it's like a shabby chic thing. I'm not saying it is shabby chic, but it's like the shabby chic thing where you want it to look old or distressed.
Well, my rationale, I like black things too. Like I like our black arbors and black pots and things like that. But this one, I don't want to see the arbor. The beauty of the apple structure is what I want to see.
Sure.
And rust tends to kind of recede a little bit more. It's because it's not a contrast. When you've got black and then like that golden brown color of the trunks and branches, you would see that contrast, but I don't think you'll notice the arbor quite as much. In fact, when I was initially thinking of it, I was thinking, what can I put in here as an arbor that I could cut out? I won't cut this one out, but you know, so that in the end, all it is apple trees.
Sure, yeah.
So there was a thought process behind that.
If you did some kind of like a wooden structure, I would imagine it would over time
break down.
Yeah, break
like
down.
our arbors into the rose garden. We're gonna have to replace those.
Points you could probably just like pull pieces off.
Yeah.
Because it's not even. It's like the roses are keeping it up at this point.
At some point, we're gonna have to just cut the roses all the way back and replace the arbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, it needs to happen. Plus, it was on our list to paint the fence around there to restain it this spring, and it never happened. We got too busy, so we need to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Stacy said, "I'm so jealous of your soil and how easy it is to dig in. Sometimes."
Yeah, it depends on if it's an area that, like the South Garden is getting better because we have put mulch down, and so I think that has been helping.
And having moisture here and there too, it does soften things up. Out in the dirt lands,
yeah, it's bad.
It's bad. It's so hard.
The South Garden was bad at one point.
It was,
if you remember.
Well, and I do know that closer, like to the dumpster side, that there's hardpan over there that is like ridiculous. It's ridiculous to dig holes over there. I remember planting some baptisia close to where the grape arbor is, and it was smoking. I could smell the motor of the drill when I was trying to drill those holes. Ugh. Question: could you eventually take the arbor down and have the tree creating the arbor shape? I didn't even read that question.
So there you go.
Yeah. Not that one. I mean, you could use bolt cutters, but that was too much of it's an investment arbor, and I'll just leave it. Jennifer said, I love this apple arbor idea. So cool. Question: I have a white peach and white nectarine fruit trees, and it looks like they're covered in sap-like stuff. Oh boy, it's all over the branches and trunk. Shoot. Do you know what that could be? Should I toss them and start over? Probably. It's probably some sort of a canker. Gummosis. I mean, you can Google it. But the spores enter the tree, and wherever there's sap, the wood of the tree starts to die right below that, and it can kill entire branches. I had to start over with some apricot trees, new ones, because mine got it. And it can happen from like injury to the bark, so the spores have a place to enter. It can happen from a bad prune job. That sort of thing. So if your trees are young enough, I've had them for 2 years and it just happened in the past couple of months. If they're only 2 years old, I know that's still an investment, but I wouldn't bank on keeping a tree that's got that. Because one, you don't want it to spread, and two, you don't want to baby this tree that's got a visible ailment and get it to a certain size and then just have it like break in a windstorm or whatever. That would be more heartbreaking, I think. Jenny Summers said, I was wondering, will the trunk of the apple trees get big and push on the arbor, or does this type of pruning make the trunk smaller? No, the trunks still get big-ish. At the point where things are getting too large, it's possible I might remove the arbor. I don't know. And I do think it might be possible with pruning, because I'm going to keep everything from coming inside. It's possible that I could prune it in a winter and just slide the arbor out, like kind of just bend it out once the trees are bigger size. Septima 3 said, love the apple arch. What a cool project. Can't wait to see its progress. Can I ask you, when is the earliest it is safe to move roses? I have a giant knockout that I can't wait to move it. It's just gotten away. However, I was told by someone I know that I needed to wait until it was done blooming to move it. Is this true? Is there an ideal time to transplant roses, or does it really matter? Ideally, you're moving stuff when they're dormant. Like late winter, early spring is a really good time. We move stuff all the time, and we have really good luck. even if they're blooming. What I do when I'm moving something like a rose is I'll cut it back, like cut the whole thing back to where, I mean, I just have little stems like this so that your root system isn't trying to support the whole foliage canopy. It instead can focus on root development. And then I try to get as much of the root ball as possible and then just keep it really wet. I would think that once it's cooling off in the fall, it kind of opens up a new window. But if you do it too late, you can risk some winter injury to the plant because it doesn't have a chance to settle into its new spot. If it's huge and in your way and you don't like it where it's at, just move it. Just move it, keep it wet. Julie said, can you explain how deeply you plant the tree from its grafting point? On those, I usually just plant them right at the soil level that they are in their container. I kind of like root around in there a little bit just to make sure that there's nothing major that I'm covering. And I'll put like a skiff of soil just so it kind of matches the rest of the soil around it. Sometimes we plant high. I don't think I planted quite as high over there. But we plant everything high out in the south garden because there's been no mulch out there yet. So we plant it and then mulch around it afterward. In this space, there's already mulch, so you can kind of like, spread the mulch right up to where you need it to be. Lori said, do you ever get the espalier tree you moved from behind the greenhouse planted in the ground? Just talked about that. Brenda said, I love the apple espalier. I've always wanted to try this. Has anyone done it that lives in a cold zone? I live in a zone 3. Would this matter? You just got to find one that's rated down to a zone 3. Pruning it wouldn't hurt it as long as it's a zone 3 surviving plant. And I don't know what apple trees are.
3 is pretty cold.
3 is cold. Apple. Oh, it says most apple trees can be grown in hardiness zones 3 through 8. I would double check though. If termed long season, apple quality will be best in zones 5 to 8. Yeah, I would just double check which zone it is. But the way you prune it is up to you.
Consider moving.
Well, that's easy.
To a zone 6.
Yeah. Good Grief said, I love the idea of the fruit arch. Do you think it could be done with a peach tree? I'm Georgia peach. Yeah, you absolutely can. There's actually dwarf trees too that you can get that will only grow, I think, like 6 to 8 feet tall. That might be a really good option too. So you might keep your eye out for something like that so that it's not as much of a chore keeping it trained. Next video was dressing up the portico for fall and an exciting delivery. So we took after the portico entrance area with corn stalks and pumpkins and squash, and I redid planters, and we've got mums up there and lit trees. It's super festive looking, and I got the kids in on it right at the end when I had already placed all the really heavy pumpkins that they can't lift, and I left a lot of the small ones so that they could place them around. They love doing that. And then we got some trees. I think that was the first of the delivery that day.
Was it?
I think so. And I didn't actually know that that was going to happen.
I don't think any of us really knew exactly when.
Right.
Because I told Nathan, like,
whenever.
Yeah, like whatever works for your schedule. We're here, and
Yeah, so they just showed up while we were working away on the patio, and it's just been amazing. Glow16 said, how old are those trees? Do you know from Nathan?
Probably 15, 20 years old.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have ever thought it was possible.
Yeah, jumping forward in time.
Yeah.
I mean, to have something like that on our property.
We're investing in years of growth, basically.
Yeah.
Natalie said, so exciting. Do you have a video on how you blow out your pipes? I live in South Australia and don't know what you mean by that. Is it like an air compressor thing?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it is.
You just have a spot that usually it's like oftentimes it's a hose thread, and you just have like a hose thread contraption that you put on the end of an air compressor, and you kind of like thread that onto your hose, like a hose bib, and it just sends air through the pipe and like shoots all the water out. In warmer climates, you don't have to mess with that because it doesn't freeze. But here we have we have a lot of lines that are like a foot or 2 feet down, and those we have to blow out. And then we've got lines that are 4 feet down, and that's below the frost line, and we can leave that on all the time.
Call those frost freeze. And they're the ones that have the big old crank looking handle.
Yeah, when you crank the handle, it's actually releasing water from 4 feet down. There's like a little plug down there. And so when you open the handle, a little rod like opens up the connection.
So they're not like water all the way up to the faucet,
right.
Because that would freeze up above the ground.
So, anyway.
Yeah. Beverly said, so beautiful as always. I'm looking for the Amazon link for the trees, but I'm not seeing it. Sorry about that. Don't laugh. I always say those things, and then I forget there's so much that goes on in a day. And then, like, right then and there, I should just send you the link. Because you are usually the one who puts in all that stuff, right? So I should just do that. Yeah. Just stop and send you, like, please put this link underneath.
Well, the funny thing, too, is that, like, It even benefits us because we have like an Amazon Associates account.
Oh.
So like if people were to buy them, we'd
Sure.
make a small commission on it, but like we just don't.
It's easy to find. Just get on Amazon and do fall lit trees. That's what I did.
Sure.
And you can find, I ordered 2 different kinds actually. I ordered those 2 and then I ordered 4 more because I was going to do them in the pots around the Hartley and then I decided not to.
Oh.
I don't think I could bring myself to do something faux in those pots.
I like the pines.
I do too. Pines are beautiful. I think that was today's video.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, Chris said, I love watching that huge digger thing putting in such huge trees with such ease. Thanks for sharing that. Does the dirt that was dug up just get dumped in the dirt lands? Right now, it got dumped right behind where the dream stream's going in, and we'll probably utilize some of it.
Yeah.
And then whatever else, we actually have low spots out in the dirt land. So yes, the extra will end up there or down the hill.
It's so nice having, especially the hill now.
Yeah.
Because like if you've got extra dirt or I've been dumping my grass over there.
Mm-hmm. That's perfect. Nathan said, how exciting about the massive trees. Is there any worry about the trees not making the transplant? Yes.
Yeah.
The ones that come from Nathan's farm have been like root pruned and properly like cared for. The ones that we're getting from the other farm where, you know, they sat for 5 or 6 years, it's a little more risky because they've just sat.
We're just keeping them wet and
Yeah.
kind of hoping for the best. There's really no other, it's like you could try it or not try it.
Yeah.
They're going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
It's like March, I think, of next year. Mm-hmm. Nathan's got to get out as many trees as he can before that. And then.
So we're going to see what we can do. We're doing like one push with those trees and then maybe we might be able to do another small push in the spring,
Yeah.
early spring, which would be nice to just try to get as many of those out as we can,
Yeah.
you know, still paying for them. So,
Right.
you know, you can only do so many of them. But it was super nice of Nathan to let us in on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an amazing opportunity.
Nathan was saying that evergreens are not like a big seller for him.
Which is so crazy to me.
Yeah, he mostly moves deciduous
He's
trees
got
for
tons
people.
of huge deciduous trees.
Yeah,
But for me, it's like deciduous trees grow so fast.
yeah.
Evergreens are what you see all year
It
long.
take 20 years
Yeah.
to get to this size.
And it's the only thing you see for 5 months out of our year, you know? So to me, investing in evergreen bone structure for your garden when you really had none.
Yeah.
I mean, there was very little in this space. Well, at least the spaces we picked up through the years.
Yeah, evergreens, I would say, grow at maybe like a fourth the speed of
Or less.
of deciduous. Like if you plant a maple tree, that's a decent size, you know. I mean, give it 5 years, and it's going to look like a pretty decent tree.
Yeah.
After 5 years.
Right.
But that evergreen is still going to be like.
Yeah. Angela said, totally random question. Have you heard of better boxwoods? Just heard from Gardening with Creekside video. If so, would you consider them? Everyone, please like this question so get featured because I want Laura's answer, please and thank you. I've never heard of better boxwoods. Have you?
No. Maybe they're better.
Maybe they are.
Maybe they're better boxwoods.
They possibly are better boxwoods. Are they better than winter gems though? Because winter gems are pretty awesome, and that's what
Well,
I just
I don't
ordered. So
know.
don't tell me about other varieties.
Winter gems have their share of issues. Like
They do.
boxwoods are just kind
I
of
know.
like wrought with issues.
Yeah,
They're pretty.
They
but,
are.
But it's not exactly like an easy plant for anybody. And there's like you can't praise winter gems. You can just say
they do well for us.
They're better than maybe some of the other ones we've tried.
Yeah,
But we've got some winter gems that look bad.
not horrible. Most of them look awesome.
Most
The
of
ones
them
in
look
the
good.
Versailles or Persephone garden, whatever, they look amazing. Those look so good.
The ones going to the fireplace area.
Yeah, those look a little. I wonder if whatever is affecting that locust tree affects. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? Debbie said, everything looks absolutely beautiful. Thank you. I've been trying to add trees to my landscape. Could you tell me what the weeping tree is by the area you just beautifully decorated for fall? That is a Jackmanite birch, if I am thinking of the right one. It's a white trunk on either side of our portico area, and it's a gorgeous tree. We were just talking, though, we need to go up and trim some of those branches off the roof. During the windstorms, they kind of scratch and like bang the side of the house up there. We got to go do some maintenance. Nicole said, great video. How often do you water the evergreens?
Right now, I am probably going to water them every day for a couple hours. I think when you're transplanting, it's like, it's probably the same for moving roses, that earlier question.
Yep.
It's like you almost need to keep it muddy for a few weeks, maybe like 3 weeks to 4. And then you can start you don't want it to dry out. I think that's like probably the worst thing.
Well, and Nathan was even saying, I think you were relaying this to me last night, that when you're planting trees in an area that has not been irrigated, so you're digging in dry soil, that soil is going to want to wick the moisture away from the root ball because it wants its share as well. So you have to consider that not all the water you're putting in is actually going to the roots or staying at the roots. It's going to wick out just a certain distance, and which is in the end not a bad thing because it's creating a nice moist area for those new roots. But you have to think about that too, which I never really considered.
So yeah, probably pretty much every day they'll get some water.
Yeah. This other question, Martha, is about watering as well. If you're shutting off the water to the drip in the winter, are you going to have to hand water all those trees? Do you think we'll go out there and give them some?
Yeah, we've got the frost-free lines out there, so we can water them if we need to, but it's just going to depend on how wet of a year we have. Like sometimes in the fall, we just get rain and rain and rain, and things just stay pretty moist. So we'll just see.
And they are dormant, so it's not like they are actively using it, but we can't let the root system dry out either. Right. So it's just one of those things. I think you have to play by ear, depending on.
Pretty good luck with all the evergreens. We haven't lost an We've probably had like 6 or 7 evergreens that Nathan has brought, or 8, 9, and we haven't lost one.
Yeah.
So far.
Right.
So
pretty good luck so far. I think 10.
Hope for the best.
I don't know. A good handful.
So in the end, what will it be, like 20 evergreens that he'll have brought?
Over 20. Isn't that awesome?
Our property just kind of gobbles them up, though.
I know. You get this huge evergreen and you're like, oh, I need 5 more in that corner.
We'll just plant a drift. We'll just put a drift in.
Yeah. He was over yesterday. They installed 2 which you'll see maybe before this goes out. Yeah, you will. They're in the far corner of the south garden, or the dirt lands. And he was like, are you sure you don't want to do a trio? And we're like, Nathan, we only have a specific budget. Yeah. Like it stops somewhere. He's like, yeah, that's true. Yeah. Can't just drift it up everywhere with those big trees. We figured that this berm behind the barn was a really good investment to put nice trees back there. We like our neighbors. They're both really awesome. We chat over the fence with them. But it's a beautiful backdrop for our own space too, and I think everybody's happy with what's going on. And one of our neighbors is a real big gardener. They do a beautiful job with their garden. And so when I was looking at placement, I made sure to put our trees like between their things so that when they're looking from their view, they have a beautiful blue spruce in the corner, and I didn't want to put our blue spruce right behind it so that they couldn't even see the form of their own. So I made sure to bounce things around to where it was adding, hopefully enhancing their view and not taking away from what they've already cultivated in their own space. So trying my hardest to be conscientious of that. Okay, next video is moving the high tunnel. Oh, and all the plants. Shudder to think of that day. That was such a beast day. And then planting Invincible Ruby hydrangeas, which I did the following morning because I was so shot by the end of the day. So we moved the high tunnel. Paul and Bethany put up the new one by the red barn. And then I started in on moving cinder blocks, and you were busy you came in and helped with 2 cinder blocks, and then he had to go. So I just plugged away at it. And it actually was easier to carry 2 cinder blocks at a time rather than just trying to carry one. Because when you carry one, you try to use both hands and it's in front of your body. If you carry both, you're balanced. Oh, sure. Somehow, and it distributes. So anyway,
we've had that second high tunnel for 2 years.
Yeah, we bought it at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just, we knew it wasn't worth it to set it up.
Yeah.
Even though it would have been nice to have it, but just, I don't know.
There's something else to move.
Yeah, one more thing to move.
Yeah. So we got everything collapsed, all the tables collapsed and put in a trailer, moved over here, set up again, and then moved all the plants over. And now that whole area is clean. They took the high tunnel down. Paul and Bethany did the next morning while I was planting hydrangeas, which is fun. So you got to see the whole thing. But yeah, that was a beastly day. Whew. Leah said, how in the world do you remember what to water and when?
I don't know. It's as you're doing it, you start to, and we make mistakes. Yeah. I want to say you just remember. You don't. Sometimes we forget things.
Yeah, but we've got it dialed in pretty
One thing, you never replaced the drip in those pots where you put the pansies? I know. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I saw the water was just shooting out.
I know.
Okay.
I saw it yesterday too. I need to go do that. In fact, I walked over there because Bethany was deadheading the pansies. She was like, I've been hand watering this one. I'm like, yeah, it's because I forgot to put the drip back in. So the water's shooting out toward the boxwoods and not to the pot. We've got a pretty good system too. When I plant something, typically I'm not the one who runs drip to it. Typically Paul does that. So I plant everything and I take a picture immediately most of the time. I take a picture of that area and I circle the ones that need drip, and then Paul comes back through with his gator. He's got it all set up with drip supplies, and he knows where the drip is out there because he's installed so much of it, so he's way faster than me, and he just runs.
Well, he also has the drip gator.
Yeah, his is the drip gator. So he gets that all set up, and then I also send a picture to Bethany and just say, like, these are newly planted. The drip only goes off every other day, so we're gonna have to keep our eyes on them for the next 2 weeks and just keep them nice and wet. Between all three of us talking through things, as long as you hit that process, like you remember the text messages and stuff, usually everything does okay. Nancy said, so many plants. You do have plans for those, right? Or do you just keep extra plants just in case? There's a small amount of plants that I have that are kind of just, they sit. And I know it's just, we have so much space to fill in. I know we can find spots for anything that I have in the high tunnels or the greenhouse. And I mean, the nature of our job demands more projects. So I like to have some things just sitting there so that we have lots of things to do. But most of the stuff that has come in is designated for borders. Dreamstream, number one. I've got and my mom is going to come. I talked to her last night, and she was here when we placed plants last year around the pond, and she was like, that was so fun. I'm like, okay, well then you need to be here this year. So she's going to come, and then she and I will go through all of the piles that we have. And so we'll draw everything that we want for the Dreamstream area, and then everything else will end up in the Dirtlands, Borders, South Garden, wherever. Amy said, is this the Haven High Tunnel at Farmer's Friend?
No, it's not. It's just called like the Gothic Arch Caterpillar Tunnel. It's like whatever their cheapest. I think it's like one of their cheapest lines. Yeah. We've been really happy with it. The Haven was new. It came out like last year, maybe, or maybe even this year.
Oh, gotcha.
They actually did. It was kind of funny. They did like this Apple. If you've ever watched the I don't know what you call them, keynotes or whatever, when Apple introduces their new like iPhone or whatever. Whoever they hired somebody, and you could tell they were like, make this exactly like an Apple keynote. And like with the drone shots and the way that the camera moves and everything. And I don't know, it just and I'm happy to see their growth because I don't know how I found Farmer's Friend, but they're just like a small, company, and you can see that they've had some success. And I'm just happy to see anybody that starts a small business have a level of success. That's like the American dream. Yeah. That's what everybody wants. Yeah. So anyway, it's cool.
Yeah, that is really neat. And what length did you get? I currently have 2 sizes in my cart, but I'm curious which one you have that feels so roomy. I don't remember. Is it like a 20 by 50?
I don't know.
The one here by the greenhouse is 20 by 36. That's all we could fit. These, we had to make them custom because we had to fit the area that they're in. Yeah. So they're not 20 feet wide. They're 16. The high tunnels are. Yeah. Is that one 16 too? I don't know.
I think it's 20.
Yeah, I think that one was 20 by 36, so it must be something different. These are 16 wide by, I think we could make them 50 feet. That's the kit we bought, but like where they are now, I think they're 46 and a half feet.
You can adjust the bows. So like you get the arches that go over, you can make them whatever length you want. You could actually increase it. So you could buy their 50 foot and you could make it like 55, or you could make it whatever you want. You do the math.
Depends on your wind and where you have it positioned. Yeah. The closer together they are, the more stability you have.
And that's one of the options is like, do you want 4 foot spacing or do you want 5 foot spacing bows? But in the end, you can actually make it like 4 foot, 2 inches.
Unless your plastic determines how.
Yeah, your plastic is going to be, but the plastic goes long ways. So you can make it actually quite a bit longer if you wanted to. Right. So part of that is not set. So just know that if you're buying one and you have it's like, well, I can't do this, or I need it to be a little bit farther or whatever, you can kind of play with it a little bit. Sure. Within reason.
Jan said, if you're going to grow plants in new high tunnels, don't you need doors to keep the cold out? Are your winters that mild? Yes, we do need end walls. We have end walls. We just haven't set them up yet. We've had no time. And we don't even have raised beds in there yet. We'll put end walls on both of them.
Are you going to want to, at some point, are you going to want to try to heat them?
No.
Okay, good. Because I don't think they're meant for that. I think, people should know that too.
Yeah, they're not heated.
They call these season extenders.
Yeah. And, we're going to put raised beds in one of them so I can grow stuff. And I could do like heat cables under the soil. They're just like little thin, like rubber coated wires that you plug in. And they do bring the soil temperature up, which makes things a little bit more cozy. for plants, and that will extend season even more than just having a high tunnel over them. But both of those will end up with doors, or end walls rather. And I kind of want to cedar shake in the fronts of them, like we did the greenhouse, with big custom doors that can just stay open in the summertime.
Sure.
And in the back, we can use the plastic doors so nobody sees those. Like 0 people see those.
Yeah. Sure.
Donna said, what a large job done. Did you have to toss many dead plants? I noticed that the hostas did not make it to the new area. They looked a bit sad. I planted those hostas. I think, did I plant those? No, I planted them after, because now we have a hole on the table.
Do you feel like, I don't know, being I guess you could say like you're in the industry.
Yeah.
You start to realize that like plants don't need to look prime when you plant them.
No,
It's
we
like-
try to have nice looking things though,
Yeah.
so that everybody can see the potential of a plant. That's the goal.
Well, you started when you worked at Andrews. Like that was our whole back garden.
Oh,
was
yeah.
like sick plants.
Broken plants.
Yeah.
You know, smashed on the truck on the way.
Broken
Yeah.
branches.
Yeah,
It's like, well, this one looks weird.
The company would credit us because you go through, you know, you do your count, and then if you had a big bunch of stuff that was broken due to the way they packed it, they would always comp you for those plants. And then my mom's like, you could take them home if you want.
Because you really can't sell it.
Right. No, you
You
can't.
can put it in like a free bin.
Yeah. And so she'd just offer it to all the employees. I didn't take all of everything. I know some of you probably think I did, but I didn't. Our yard was a lot smaller than this one here. So I had to be a little bit selective, but that was primarily a big part of what our garden was. And so when we moved stuff over, I think there was one plant that I was waiting on to see if it would flush, and it never did. It was a little campanula. There was one can. There are a few things I gave away though. Plants that I thought, nope, I'm not going to do anything with these. And so Bethany, I just went over and just put them in her truck. And I told her, like, I just put a bunch of stuff in your truck. There were grasses that came in that were so dry that they were almost gone. And they'll be fine. They need to be cut back and they'll be fine. They'll bounce, but I can't use them for anything right now. And there's just like a limit to the amount of grasses that I want to plant, and I've got a ton. So anyway, Melinda said, I don't remember if you've told us before, but why are the heirloom mums going in the high tunnel and not out in the garden? Are they too tender to be outside where you are? It's iffy. They're like a marginal. They might survive in our garden. I do have one patch of heirloom mums that I did not plant. They were here when we moved in, but they're protected. They're up by the portico area, and every year though they come back weaker and weaker and weaker, and I just see the plant diminish every single year. And I think that if I was to plant them out, I'd have to mulch them up or something like that to keep them nice. So I think having them out in a high tunnel will be really fun. I put the cart before the horse on that project. I just got excited. I saw they're from Harmony Harvest Farm. I think they're in Virginia. I don't know. They want to revive the heirloom mum kind of industry or whatever. And I thought, well, that's awesome. And they're so pretty and they last forever in a vase. And that's what I need. I need things that will last forever in a vase. And so I bought a whole bunch of plugs, and then I forgot about them. And then they showed up in the spring, and I thought, well, crap. I forgot to leave any space out in the cut flower garden for these plants. I have nowhere for them to go. Thankfully, though, we didn't plant them out there because then we decided to retool the cut flower garden. So anyway, the poor things have been bumped up in containers twice, and they need to be bumped up again. Bethany was like, should we bump them up another time? Like, they're getting big, but I'm hoping to have raised beds built, and maybe we can get those planted yet this fall / early winter.
I think I've asked you like 3 times now. I need dimensions,
I know.
materials.
You know what? We need to go out there and just like talk about it
Sure.
because we're trying to decide if we want to do higher raised beds. But these plants could get pretty tall, like 3 feet tall. That's the other thing about the mums. If they're in protection or in a protected area, they'll be better off with the wind and all of that, not like flopping over their branches and stuff. I just think the flowers will be nicer. I don't know.
Well, if you did like say 3 foot tall beds and then they got 3, I feel like I can just about stand at the edges of the...
I feel like right at the edge, they might kind of like push
Yeah.
over. It might be a little bit too much. But there's a line though. You either do them low or you do them really high. If they're the awkward height where you still have to get down.
I think 3 feet tall might be nice.
It's really tall.
It'll be a lot of dirt too.
Yeah.
You know what? We could bring in some logs.
People will be like, no, you can't use logs because of the carbon.
Yeah.
That's what we did in our Hartley high tunnel or the cold frames, and it did awesome.
Yeah.
You can grow great artichokes in those.
I think as long as you fertilize, you're fine.
Yeah. Gwen said, was the old high tunnel reused or is the second one all new? We used both of them. They're both up at this point.
We have just enough room for another one.
The problem, though, and I saw this comment because I talked about the space we left in between the high tunnels.
Oh.
Because we were going to just jam them right up next to each other, which would look nice. But then Bethany was like, but what if we have another winter where we get a ton of snow and all of it wants to fall into that little V? Like, how are we going to get it out? That's so much weight. And we were like, yeah, that's true. So we decided on a 3-foot walkway, and some of you guys were like, you have all the space in the world. Why wouldn't you space it far enough apart to get your tractor in there? Well, the problem is that the further you move west, the less space we have before the cliff starts. In fact, we can't even get the gator around the backside of that second high tunnel. Yeah. And I just don't think it would be safe. Well,
and there's also, I think, just enough room to where you could maybe put up another one.
Or tree storage.
We
won't need that forever. Yeah. But right now when we get Jaker loads, we put things along a T-post and hill them in, and we need a space to still do that. We'll just keep using the dirt lands in the paddock area.
It's on top of rocks, though. I just don't see that being an ideal place for doing tree storage.
If we did a third one, though, it'd have to be a lot shorter.
I don't know if we don't really need, unless, need is a arbitrary word, but like if you wanted another one to grow things in, like maybe that's where you do tomatoes, because like a lot of times it feels like there's a lot of things that you could grow that just are like they suffer a little bit from our
not this year.
sun.
Our tomatoes have just been crazy productive this year, and you know why? Because I didn't mess with them.
Yeah, I suppose that's
why. I didn't prune them.
But there's a lot of things you could grow under a high tunnel that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're using it for plant storage or anything. You're just actually using it to grow some things in, and you could have more raised beds or whatnot.
Right.
Be nice to have that extra shade.
I suppose. I don't know. That's a thing to think about later on.
Yeah.
Michelle said, I love the hydrangeas. Question, I'm in Meridian, Idaho, and I have the same soil you do. Do you have to acidify the soil to keep the color? Thank you for sharing your talent. We do not have to acidify our soil. We plant primarily paniculata and arborescens type hydrangeas, which the Invincible rubies are an arborescens type, and those stay true to color no matter what the acidity level in your soil is. It's the big leaf or macrophylla hydrangeas or the mountain serrata hydrangeas that will change color based on your soil pH. So the lower it is, the more blue or purple you get, and then the more alkaline it is, the more pink they are. We can't get ours to survive here no matter what, those types. Every time we try those types of hydrangeas, they die back and they get real puny looking, and they're always pink.
In this area, I don't actually think you can acidify the soil. I think, at least not in the ground. I think you could maybe do it in a pot, but only if you were acidifying your water. If you were acidifying the water that you were giving it every single time it got water, I think maybe you could do that in a container.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
it's a fight that I'm not willing to.
It's a total battle.
Fight, yeah. Terry said, "How often do you have to water plants in the high tunnels? Wish I were your age again and could do what you do. Time takes its toll. I am understanding this more and more, but really appreciate all your knowledge and helpful comments. Plants in the high tunnels every day. Not everything needs it every day, but we go in there with the hose every day. Mums need it every day for sure. There are some. What are the things? The grasses need it every single day. Dogwoods need it every single day. And we're getting to a point where it's staying cooler. Like we had 36 degrees yesterday. Yeah. So it takes a long time for it to heat up to 80 or 78 or whatever the case may be. So things don't need water as often as they do, but in the heat of the summer, everything gets it every single day. Next video was planting hostas, fixing sunken boxwoods in pots, and 2 new big trees. So we got 2 more big trees installed. And then Aaron and I took after the cone boxwoods in the big pots along on the corners of the brick patio. We had to do a shovel on each side to try to raise them up. They just sunk.
It wasn't hard to.
We don't have things sink. Like no. What in the world?
Yeah.
That soil just compacted. Weird.
Yeah. I wonder why. That's not very common.
One of them was stinky. We raised them up on bricks.
Do you know what? The reason they compacted is probably because they got plugged.
Not all of them were plugged, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And all of them sunk.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know either, but we fixed it. And then I planted red pansies around them, and I absolutely love it.
Are you becoming a red girl?
Maybe. I don't know. I love it. It just could be the season. Also, knowing that they're going to lend to my Christmas decor also helps in their case. But right now they're just gorgeous, and it looks clean and nice, and I love it. And I planted those 3 hostas and 1 sedum. It's kind of a random day. Nadia said, question regarding cutting the base off the root ball of the hosta. Can you do that with any root bound plant? Does that not harm the taproot, or is this not a concern? If your plant is as root bound as the hostas that I took out of those containers, you can cut off the bottom. It's not going to hurt a dang thing. And then I actually went after the sides with my clippers and like got in there and kind of pried roots up because it was just such a tangled up mess. Those poor things. No wonder they looked the way they did. Yeah. They just needed to get out into the garden. I don't fluff the root ball. If there's like soil that can be worked off the roots really easily, and you don't see a whole bunch of roots circling, sometimes I don't even mess with the roots. I don't even touch them. And I don't think it's necessary. It's only in a case where it's like getting severe like that I do that. Kelly said, your neighbors must be really loving the view of these new trees. Will you string lights for Christmas on them? I don't know if we should ask them if that would bug them, because they're so far back here that I don't know what rooms that would shine into. Yeah. Our one neighbor does it up with Christmas lights, so I don't think he would mind. And the other ones probably wouldn't mind either, but I think maybe we should mention it. Or you could string it on the front. Or if they would enjoy it, string it up the whole...
I think everyone just needs to enjoy it.
Yeah, but not everybody does.
You know what? You can...
I don't enjoy other people's dogs barking. Nobody asks me. I enjoy hearing kids play outside, though.
It's Christmas.
I love that. I know.
I like Chris. I think, okay, I will say, I think as long as your lights don't flash. Yeah. I think that flashing lights can be not good, and that could be a bad neighbor if you have flashing lights. Like, it's fun to go see those displays where the lights flash and stuff, but I wouldn't want to live anywhere near that. Mm-hmm. So that's my one thing about lights.
I always think, I don't really think about it for up front because it's like the front of your house and people put Christmas lights out. Yeah. It's a normal thing. But back here, I think about it a little bit differently because when these people built their houses, we didn't own this land. And
who was there first?
Yeah. And I kind of think they bought their lot and built their houses with a specific view in mind, not knowing that it was going to change. You know what I'm saying? And then here we come in here's our Christmas lights. Boom. Yeah. In your face, in your back of your house.
I get it. But also, I think that when people buy houses, they always know the eventuality of this will probably be developed at some point. You maybe hope for certain outcomes, but unless, for us, we bought it because we didn't want something else to happen with it. Mm-hmm. And we've been saving and planning for that possibility since we moved here. Yeah. If any of our neighbors want to sell, we would love to. So we planned our life around it.
It's not even just development for the land we picked up. We're county. We're not city. So somebody could pick up a piece of property and put a dirt bike track in. Right. And they could do that. That sort of thing. If you like doing that, awesome, but go somewhere far away from residential areas. But not everybody thinks that,
Especially around here.
Yeah. So picking it up for us was kind of duly important. Doubly. Yeah. Is that a word? Doubly.
I don't know. People know what you mean when you say it, so it works.
Brian said that was satisfying root separation on hostas. Could you have divided those hostas in half before planting them? I looked at them, and I probably could have, but I just thought I wasn't going to traumatize the plant any further, and we can do that a little bit later on. Usually with hostas, for us, we don't divide because they usually diminish in size so much by the end of the season because of our kind of environment that we just want them to be just clump out in that spot and do your thing. Be as big as you can be. Vaughn's mom said, oh yeah, she's a leanin'. The tree. I'm the one tree. I'm standing there with the camera. I'm okay, cut this, it's the unfurling moment. Yeah. And the tree was completely leaning. They fixed it.
Yeah. Well, and Nathan, I texted a picture to Nathan. And he was Joe came out by himself. And I think that fixing it is probably more of a two-person job. Yeah. And they hadn't staked anything. And Nathan was just we'll come out and
they did.
We'll get them all straight before we stake them up. Yeah. But we'll at least get it in its place for
I
for
love that tree.
Yeah.
Since then, though, there's been a blue one that's been installed that is perfection. It's the perfect shape. I love it. Question, was having a bank of spruce trees your original plan, or did plans change when this tree rescue opportunity came your way? It was always the plan, but we were going to do a lot smaller trees. So the fact that we were able to kind of get what we wanted in the end and rescue trees that are going to be otherwise possibly destroyed, if Nathan doesn't take them. Destroyed. Yeah. I mean, that opportunity was just...
Well, there was already one that we tagged, and Nathan, when he got out there, he let us know. He's like, this one's too big. I can't move this one.
Yeah. It's massive.
But he was out there. We were tagging stuff with him. So at the time, he thought it was movable.
Yeah.
But then he let us know. He's like, I just, there is a point where well, for the equipment he has. I mean, like, probably anything could be moved with enough time and manpower, but,
He's got some big equipment, too.
Yeah, he's got a 100-inch spade.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a really big...
They brought one of the spruces yesterday in that spade. The one in the back of the Dirtlands. Wheaties said, so what would happen to the plant if you didn't rip the roots apart when the plant is root bound? It could just silently suffer for a really long time and never really flourish, because sometimes the roots, when they grow in that direction, it's like they get that memory, that root memory, and that's the way they keep wanting to grow, and they like kind of choke themselves out. They have a hard time like redirecting and punching out. So it can be really helpful if they're really root bound to break the root system up like that. Shirley said, the pansies with the boxwoods reminds me of the city planters you and your mother used to do. Is that project still being done? It is. My mom is still heavily involved in that, but so is the city now. Like, the city waters them during the week, and I don't know. I think the city pays for the plants now instead of having to. I would get sponsors for each one of the pots. Boy, that feels like another life ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was.
Before kids.
Yeah.
It was a different era.
It was. I had a lot more time back then.
Yeah.
For sure. But they've added pots. Like, when I started it, there was 26 pots, one at the corner of each block. And now they've added another one in between, like middle of the streets, and they've added hanging baskets as well. So it's kind of grown. Kat said, question, what is your favorite container recipe of all time? Oh, container recipe of all time. I don't know if I could pick one. Something with Bordeaux in it. Supertunia Bordeaux. Something with Gara as a centerpiece, probably. I don't know. We've done some really pretty ones through the years.
Yeah, that's a great question.
It is a good one.
Like, impossible to answer.
I'd have to look back through. There was also one where I did like a ridiculous coleus with the Supertunia Mini Vista Yellow, and there was some blue lobelia in there. Like, it was a really odd mix, and I ended up really loving it. Yeah, that's a very good question. Marcy said, I usually don't trim or need to trim my hostas until first frost. However, with this year's severe drought, I want to cut off all the leaves now. Would that be a bad idea? I don't think so. Not at this point. I think you could cut them off. In fact, the hibiscus we planted that looks so bad, we've cut those back as well. I just couldn't look at dead leaves for the rest of time. They're not, at that point, they're not soaking in any energy. The roots are still down there fine. We'll keep them watered. And they will hopefully come back next spring.
I think they will.
I think they will too. Bonnie said, so much red this year. Have you changed your mind on your aversion to red? I myself am not a fan of red, but I've been adding a little more this year and have to say I'm loving it. I think it's just fun to have a little bit of a change. When you do the same thing over and over and over again, I mean, you can love it, but it almost feels like you're missing out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so it's fun to venture into other areas of color in small doses just to see, again, like, do I actually not like this? Or, because sometimes, I mean, all of our styles and ideas change through time too. Yeah. I used to only plant coral, like salmon pink or like warm pinks, and I would never plant cool pinks. And now I love cool pinks. So like, I almost prefer cooler pinks over warmer pinks now, except in the bullseye salmon geraniums behind the Hartley. Those are awesome. Okay, so the last group of questions are from the recap video from last week. So Bree said, I want to get into espalier. Do you have a suggestion as to where I should purchase the tree whips to get started? I just check with your local garden center. Start asking around. Every area is going to be a little bit different. I've never started with a whip before. I know that is the preferred method if you want a very specific shape. There are some nurseries that do have whips around here. We never carried those down at my parents' garden center. That's probably why I never started with one. Smooth Sailing said, what is janky? You must have said it. I don't usually say that word.
Okay, well, I haven't looked it up, but I assume that it means
haphazard?
Of poor quality.
Like a janky system. Like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Is that like slang? Are you not supposed to say that word?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Oh, of extremely poor or unreliable quality.
There
That's
you
almost
go.
exactly how I said it.
Yeah, are you sure you didn't look it up prior?
No. Boom.
You're so smart. Okay. Barbara said, what about safety for people not falling and rolling down that area? Listen, if somebody goes over that far and falls and rolls down the hill, that is their own dang fault. Because why are you back there?
I don't know. Okay. It's like, have you ever been in nature? Like,
Have you gone on a hike
have you ever
recently?
you ever been on a hike? Like, the world is full of pitfalls and danger. So
You know, though, it's kind of like, is it Murphy's Law? We had at one point, invisible fountain at Andrews. So, you dig a hole and put a basin underneath the soil, and we had like a bubbling fountain that would disappear under the rocks. Well, somebody bought it and they wanted everything. So we had to dig out the thing, and it was during a sale and it was so busy. So we had a hole in the ground, it wasn't massive, but it was a hole. And so I put plants, like 2 layers of plants all the way around the hole, and tape. Some lady still made her way through both layers of plants and tape and fell in the hole and got really mad about it. And I'm like, first of all, why were you plowing through the plants and the red tape? Are you kidding me? I mean, yeah, we shouldn't have a hole in the ground, but I did everything that I could. Right. Apart from orange cones all the way around it. But in that case, I feel like she still would have made it into the hole.
Right.
But there will be a day that a plant rolls down that hill, and Aaron is going to go fetch it if that happens.
I need to put a camera just
to make sure that
it's not Laura just over there like tossing a plant.
Quick kick.
Yeah, kicking it. Boom. I wouldn't put it past you. I could see you doing that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I would not do that, because you probably wouldn't go get the plant, and that plant would die unless I went and
No,
got it.
I promise I will go get whatever plants fall. As long as you give me like 3 feet, because there's at least 3 feet. There's probably like 5 or 6 from the end of the high tunnel.
Yeah.
So if you give me like 3 feet, if you start inching things closer, then
it's my own fault.
Yeah.
Cindy said, do you use the same potting mix for your indoor plants? At what point do you change out the soil? I've noticed my indoor mix is looking more compact and the water drains through fast. Please advise. At that point, I would probably consider a repot and bumping things up a little bit. But yeah, I use the same. It's the Espoma organic potting soil for indoor and outdoor containers, unless it's a specific plant with a specific need, like a cactus or succulent, African violet, orchids. Those all require a little bit of a different blend, and I'll use the appropriate soil with the appropriate plant. Sherry said, if you were to plant 1 rose for their hips, which would it be? Morden blush. For sure, no question. Allison said, has Aaron's sister gotten married yet? Was Samantha a flower girl? Love your videos and you don't talk too much. Only complaint is the video length sometimes is too short. Thank you. Yes, Aaron's sister got married the very first weekend of September. And yes, Samantha was a flower girl, but did Samantha perform her duties? No. Samantha is going through a little bit of a separation anxiety phase with me, and she doesn't want to be.
Which, my sister did too.
Yeah, they are following the same path. If we're home, it's fine. If we have anybody come in to watch the kids, other than like my mom or your mom or a family member, she feels like even if I'm going to be outside working, she feels like we have somebody there because I'm getting ready to leave. Yeah. And it fritzes her out, and then she can't leave me. So like today, the kids are just chilling inside, and we're out here filming. She's totally fine. Because she doesn't feel like she's being managed in any way. For a while, we were having my niece come and watch the kids on Tuesdays. Who Samantha adores. Yeah, she loves her. Livy. Yeah. Which actually, Livy was in a video like a long time ago. Yeah. And now she's Livy's fixing to get married too. Yeah. In the near future. But yeah, Samantha loves Livy, but like just recently, she's been like, nope. If you come over, I'm going to be right by Mama's side the whole day. Yeah, at ballet class. She won't, I have to be, like all the other moms are in the waiting room chilling and visiting, and I'm in the dance floor. I won't go out there and dance with her because she needs to, to do some things on her own. But I will stay in the room so she can still put eyes on me. But even then. I know what that's like. I had major anxiety when I was a kid. Yeah, I don't know, maybe starting at age 10,
maybe even younger than that, but I would say maybe like 10 to 16. And I think that some things are just a phase, and you just got to give kids a little bit of space and some love.
Yep.
And like, I came out of it. It was right about the time I got my driver's license. Like, getting my driver's license was difficult. Going to the DMV and taking a test or doing like the driving test, I thought I would die. You just, you know, like, anxiety makes no sense.
It's a horrible thing to deal with, though.
It really is. It stopped me from doing a lot of things in those, you know, years, because it was so weird too, because it's like part of my anxiety was I was worried that people would see I had anxiety.
Oh, sure.
You know, which is like, well, just don't have it in the first place. But you can't, you know.
It's like telling somebody who's depressed to not be depressed.
Yeah, just don't be
like
depressed.
That, you can't do that.
Right. Your life is a lot better than people 300 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, like, it doesn't need to make sense.
No.
It's internal.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, we've figured out a groove, though.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like they're improving. So I think we'll be out of the phase. And that's what my mom told me in the beginning, you know, when I was struggling with like Benjamin's sleep schedule and all that. She's like, it's all a phase. Like, you won't even remember it. You'll just go through those days and just know that it's a phase and that it will end.
Yeah.
It will end and life will resume more normal, you know, feel. And that always sort of comforted me. And now that I'm sort of like even beyond that, I know it's true.
Yeah.
You know. Deb said, Laura used a word I've never heard of. At 1616, she said she used to go back in the draws. What are the draws? They're like draws. They're like little valleys in hills where there's ponds and brush. And
maybe if you live in a part of the country where there is, like, you don't experience draws.
A draw is a low-lying area between two parallel ridges or spurs.
Yeah.
Draws are similar to valleys, but are perpendicular to the ridgeline and rise with the surrounding ground. They are usually dry. Not ours. The ones behind our house, there were two ponds, and it wasn't our property. It was our neighbor's property, but they were kind of like older, and they liked kids, and they let us just roam wherever we wanted to. But may contain a stream or loose rocks. Yeah. So that is what a draw is.
In which case, it would not be dry.
Yeah, right. And the last question, Kim said, love your videos. What was the name of the author you've been reading lately? I'm looking for a new one. Kristen Hanna. I have so many of her books. I'm just finishing the Firefly Lane book, which is its endings. I don't want to spoiler at all, but
it's ending badly.
No, yeah, kind of. It's sad, but The Great Alone, Nightingale, and The Women were the three best of hers that I've read so far, and I've read a lot of them. So anyway, that is who I am reading. And Jodi Picoult, The Storyteller. It's an amazing book. And you guys, that is it for today's recap video. Now we're going to go get busy and get ready for people to show up. Greg just texted us actually just a minute ago and said that they're on their way. ETA is...
Is Monday going to be the first pond video?
I think so.
Or Tuesday?
I think Monday will be. It's possible. It's unlikely, but possible we might have to skip posting Monday, depending on how it goes. But I think with
I don't think so. I think it'll
filming
work
and
out.
editing schedule, I think Taylor will have enough time to stay on schedule, normal schedule. But you know how it goes. It's going to be a busy time. So, and I'm just going to try to capture every single day, like we did last time. Like, this is day one, and then so we should have 3 or 4 videos right in a row of the pond build or this drain stream build. All right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.